So I think one of the things besides the education on the medical side of it is for people to, before they go through this, get an idea of like what all this is going to cost you on a personal or emotional level, and to make sure you have a strong network. And I think just knowing ahead of time that you're going to experience this and this and this, and it's normal, and don't freak out and don't make any rash decisions that you're going to regret later on. So just having that emotional education to go along with the medical.
Yeah, I would agree. And that gives me a lot of ideas of stuff I need to do now.
Hola, guys! Welcome back to Where Are They Now? I am Briana. I'm the creator of Preventable, and we are here with my godsend of research and everything. This documentary would not have happened without this person. Kathy, hello. And her partner in crime, Jason, hello.
Hello.
I'm so excited to be talking to you guys.
You're so funny.
usually it's phone calls, so getting to see faces is so much better. I love it.
I agree. It's good to see your face.
But I feel like I've seen you since the documentary. Have I? Or has it just been, I don't know if I've seen you since.
I don't think in person.
No.
I don't think so.
Because the first time I met you was at the DC in 2015, I think.
I think so. I think you're right.
We're so old. I'm so old. And then, so yeah, the documentary, maybe the last time I've seen you in person. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay.
It was. I was set to go to Florida, I think. I don't know. There was a year where I jacked my ACL in my knee, and then I couldn't go anywhere. So I think I was supposed to see you somewhere, and you and Kelly went by yourselves. But
yeah, I know Kelly and I went to the IID.
Yeah,
that might have been it.
And I was supposed to, couldn't. Yeah.
So it's been a spell since I've seen you guys in person. So how's the family? How are they doing?
Family's doing good.
Yeah,
doing well.
Good.
Old.
Yes. Yeah, our oldest, she's a sophomore now, and the little guy who was in Preventable, he's.
How old is Rhett now?
He's sixth grade.
Yeah.
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade, yeah.
So he and Grant are in junior high together, 6th and 8th. So we got 10th, 8th, 6th, and then the baby's in 4th. Yeah. So we got somebody in every school, high school, junior high, and elementary.
Yes, we do.
And how's that going with this whole thing happening here?
Going well. Like at the beginning of the year, we were all virtual, and that was insane because they're all 4 here, and then I work from home. So it was just like internet slow.
Oh, yeah.
Figure out 5 devices. And then the emailing, there's 25 teachers amongst the 4 of them. So it's just like, but 3 of the 4 are back in person. The high school seems to kind of be like a problem. So I'm kind of glad my high schooler is home. Like as far as spread, getting like the notification letters like on blast. But so she's still home and online. She actually does better online. The other 3 no. So they're good where they are, masking up and socially distancing at school.
And Jason, you're a principal at a school?
I am. I'm a principal of a middle school as of 5 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah,
That's
I was
awesome.
It was funny. I was the what you call associate principal at where my daughter attends high school. So she had to go to school, see her dad, and avoided me, for the first bit. But then she realized it wasn't so bad to have her dad around. So, but no, I recently left high school. I've been a middle school principal for about 5 weeks now. and it's been quite the challenge. I tell people I should have my honorary counseling degree because, the teachers are super stressed out of all the extra work they're having to do, and just trying to support and help them and keep them together. And it's been a stressful year.
Yeah, I mean, like I teach. I'm a teacher. And God bless some of my admin. Like, I feel bad for, like I said, everybody in this situation having to deal with what's been going on. And I'm at a middle school, high school, so we have both at mine.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's been interesting. It's been an interesting year, to say the least. I can't wait to go back to what our next normal will be, whatever that is. To have them all in front of me and not having to worry about spraying something down, spraying hands, keeping distance, electronic problems. I can't turn this in, I can't turn that in. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So yeah. Definitely stressful. But you guys as parents, especially with 4, God bless you. God bless you. With
We
all
need
of that.
blessings. Thank you.
But Rhett is our superstar here. So how old was he in the documentary?
So, oh my goodness. Was the documentary in 2015?
We filmed in 2017.
Okay. So he, what's my math? 8?
Math.
Yeah.
8 plus 9 is 17. Yes, I knew that.
Yeah.
So he was 8, and now he's 11. He turns 12 in July.
Okay.
And so so his whole TSW experience, it was like right before he turned 4, and it was the whole year he was 4. And I remember like his 5th birthday, he just looks clear and happy, and he looks good in his pictures. And so that was July. He started kindergarten in August. And so like the fact that he could even go to school was like
incredible,
crazy miracle. And so, yeah, now, so that was kindergarten when kind of everything was coming back to normal for him. He wasn't perfect. It was still kind of like, I'd say from his knees down were an issue. But it was like patches. It wasn't, the whole full blown red and killing and the whole thing yet anymore. And that's kind of, how he's stayed. He's had patches in certain areas that will cycle, and then they'll clear, and they'll still stay clear for months, and then he'll get a patch again, and then it's kind of like that. So
but it's nothing like crazy. Is it just like patches, like, I don't know,
like
if
in a really
it's
specific place, like behind his knees, and everything else is clear. So it'll be behind his knees is wrong. Every once in a while across his ankles is wrong, like a patch.
Yeah.
Kind of pink and itchy. What I would describe as looking like a conventional or typical eczema.
Okay.
Very mild. And at the moment he is completely clear, and it's awesome, but it also kind of drives me crazy because I don't know why, because we're not doing anything different. We haven't changed products.
Oh, the conundrum of what triggers your skin to go crazy.
So the last time he had a problem was, I need to knock on wood, but it was like May and June of 2020, and behind knees. And so, so it was both knees, and it was like the whole space right behind his knee. So his thigh and his calf was clear. Behind his knees was like a hot mess, like red, and just painful when you would sweat and things like that. Whole rest of him was still clear. It was just that spot. I don't know why it picked that spot, but it did. And then in I'd say July, definitely August, it was clear, and it has stayed that way. And now it's February, so yeah. So I do remember like a year ago, last January, February, he was also clear because I wrote it down someplace. I was like writing about it somewhere. And so it's possible that he just kind of has seasonal kind of triggers, like springtime when it's like pollen and whatever. that's the only pattern I can see, because it seems to be
Yeah.
around the same time frame every year. He kind of gets a patch or two in really specific places, and then it clears up on its own without any intervention. So yeah, right after, so when he was like 15 months TSW, we got him patch tested because his back was finally clear enough to do so. And it showed like fragrances and lanolin. And so we took those out, and that really did, I feel like, help him clear, because it was triggers in stuff we were using, even hidden fragrances. So like names of ingredients we didn't know was a fragrance. And then, okay, so that helped. And then we also started phototherapy. So like the UVB, the light box.
You still have it?
I still have it. It's still in our room. And
it looks like a giant tanning bed in our room.
yeah,
So.
gathering dust because we don't really use it anymore, but we used it 6 months straight then, from like month 15 to like 21 or whatever. And he was completely clear using that thing. And that was 3 times a week for 6 months. And then when we stopped, he stayed clear for a while, but then he went back to like the little patches, like what I was talking about, specific areas, but they're not always there. They cycle, they clear up. And so we both kind of felt like we can deal with that without the risk of UV, because it is, there are risks to it. It is radiation, and it is considered an immunosuppressant. And so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so maybe you don't know, but like people who tend to get cold sores, it'll often have like an outbreak after they've been in the sun, like if they get a sunburn or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's some mechanism with that where it lowers the immune response. And so, yeah, I was at a conference someplace, one of the conferences I go to, I think it was an AAD meeting, and they were saying that. They were calling UV or phototherapy a systemic immunosuppressant. I was like, that's nice to know, since we've been using it this whole time and nobody educated us on that. And even with my background, I didn't realize that. So
I feel like I learn something new every time I talk to you. I swear.
Thank you.
I feel like I learned something new.
Learned that too. So it's really, so I mean, so it's again one of those things that while you use it, it works, and when you don't, it doesn't. Yeah. But he kept like the ground that he gained, I would say, and it gave him a 6-month break, and that was really nice for all of us, and the itching especially. But and I think like a time or two I have tried to use the light box again, but it's the kind of thing where I would say it takes several months to even show any effectiveness at all, because you're working up to it.
Yeah. So and it's very small increments, right? It's nothing
like 6 seconds every time you add 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And so to get to the therapeutic range at all takes a long time. And then once you reach therapeutic range, then you just stay there until you feel like not using it. And so it's always like a cost benefit analysis, whatever. And so where he landed, we all felt like that was doable. And so, yeah. And I also feel like as he gets older, when he was younger, some of the places that would be like really dry was like his face.
His mouth, yeah.
Like, face has looked good, even around his mouth. Like even like the corners of his mouth used to be an issue, and doesn't have that anymore. His hands look really, really good right now. All of them looks good right now. We don't know why. It's
knock on wood, like you said.
Yeah.
I
I don't know. We have a very simple routine for him.
Awesome.
For the longest, it was just, the Theraplex emollient. Get it online, and it's 3 ingredients, and it's not natural at all because he reacts to plants. He's allergic to a lot of like nuts and grasses, and so for him that worked. Now I'd say maybe the last 6 months or so, he's preferred nothing. So he just gets out of the shower and he doesn't put anything on.
Oh,
and so
nice.
And he's able to, which is another miracle. And so and then that raises questions in my mind, like, was there a tipping point where the product was actually irritating him and we should have stopped sooner? I don't know. The questions are endless on that. But so for now he just he showers like normal and doesn't put anything on and gets out and goes
That
about his
is
life.
so awesome. I love hearing that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, even just like saying it, it's just funny. Like, wow, that is awesome. You know,
It
it's
is.
great. Like the things you take for granted. I mean, in that time frame, like 7 years ago, whenever it was, could not imagine. I mean, we slathered his body and we were mummy wrapping and I mean, just kind of almost like creating skin for him at that time, like creating a barrier to the outside world because the skin was so raw and open. And now he gets out of the shower and lives life.
Isn't he playing outside right now? Isn't that where he's at?
Yeah, he's running
Yes.
around someplace.
Just running
right?
around.
I hear kids screaming on the trampoline, so that's probably yeah.
Oh, the trampoline. I remember the trampoline.
I know we have since rebuilt our fence. I was looking at clips of Preventable the other day, and I was like, "Oh, that was awesome! Our fence falling down after some hurricane." I don't know.
Oh yes, that was the hurricane. I think you guys were.
Yeah.
So.
But it's fixed now, and we mowed our lawn.
We did, yeah. So come on back anytime.
We'll do a redo.
Yeah.
Well, besides Rhett, because I feel like I got like a 2-for-1 coming to visit you. Because yes, I wanted to see the parental kind of view of having to deal with TSW, because I know that took a toll in so many different ways. But you also were, what was your title back then for ITSAN?
I think at the time I was executive director.
Executive director.
Number 2. Yeah.
And you were just literally my go-to. Like, guys, this would not have been made without her. Like, no Preventable would have happened. I could have gone around the world, shot whoever I wanted, and have been like,
That's so
anecdotal evidence.
Thank you.
You know, but you had so much research, so much information that I just like clung to make the documentary. What has been your journey with going through this? Because I know you were part of ITSAN, and I know you stepped away for a little while, and I know that probably had to do a lot with kind of needing to step away. Like, it's so overwhelming, especially having a kid, dealing with all that. That's so much on your plate. So I don't know if you want to talk about that aspect, either in a parent point of view and a leadership point of view.
Yeah, I think that so that's true. I was very active with ITSAN for many years, and I think it was around, I'm losing track of time, but I believe it was around 2018.
Yeah, I think so.
That I was just like, I can't do this anymore. This is something that really surprised me, and try to talk about like within the groups. And we have talked about updating a lot on our website to address this, but just like the mental, emotional weight of the whole thing, especially when you're in kind of like an emergency kind of mode, a crisis mode all the time. And then the crisis is over, and then you have time to process. And it was just like, you know, just like, I know my child is safe, and now I fall apart. And that's what happened. Just very high anxiety. It was almost like, what do they call it? Decision fatigue, where I couldn't like think straight. I couldn't even shop for dinner. I couldn't think of I couldn't make any more decisions. Jason like very much like stepped up and took over many things. And yeah, I just had to step away and not like be in this realm anymore. And just, I mean, I hate to overuse the term triggering, but it is.
Yeah.
It is very triggering to see. So there was like a whole year where I hid all the groups from my timeline. I didn't go in and answer anybody's stuff. It was kind of like I wrote up, a lot for the website and was just kind of like, here you go, community. I have to take time for myself. And I did like go to a lot of therapy and we went together sometimes. And so it was just kind of like I needed that. And honestly, I really had, sounds selfish, but like I had no plans on returning because it was kind of like I just need to put that away. But so, and I felt like ITSAN was in like really good hands. Like we had some really good people step up, and I know Joey Van Dyke, she felt that way too, that like here's Kelly Barta and here's, you know, Jody Orr and Molly and, you know, Jolene, and we're just like, okay, all right, like they can handle it and we can finally kind of, you know, step away, whatever. Well, end of 2019 is when, so Kelly Barta was still president, and she asked if I would be involved with the PFDD meeting, the Patient Focused Drug Development meeting with the FDA in Washington, D.C. in September 2019. And there was a lot of kind of like prep behind the scenes with that. It was with working with 5 patient organizations. We had to write a survey. We had to organize the event. I mean, it was just, there was just like a lot to do around that. And she asked if I would help out. And so I did. And I figured, you know, I can handle a little project.
Yeah.
You know? Well, then the little project kind of shifted into that I stepped in as president because she had to get a job full time. She had to step away because so much of ITSAN work is voluntary.
Yep.
So like, and we tried to provide like some compensation for like 1 or 2 people who are really in it, but it's still not what you would call, it's not a full-time job. So
no.
she had to step away and for that. And just like the timing in my life at the time just like worked. And I felt like I'll try this out. I'll see how this goes. And yeah, and the rest is history. So I stepped in, I guess, October 2019. That's strange. It's already 2021.
Because now you're the president now.
Right. And so what I will say too is Kelly Barta, I feel like in her kind of short time as president, she might have been in there a year. She planted so many seeds that are now blooming all over the place. And we're like, wow, this is a lot of harvesting, you know? And she still sits on our board. She works for Allergy and Asthma Network now, but she still does sit on the ITSAN board. And I'm so happy about that. So she still helps us a lot. But yeah, there's just a lot that has happened, a lot of really good progress. And it's great.
Well, that's why I'm so glad you talked about that journey, because I think a lot of people, I mean, if they watch the documentary, they may understand the heavy burden that goes on parents that are dealing with a child, because it's not just the child that is affected. It is literally everyone in that family unit that gets affected. And like you said, you went to therapy. Like, people probably know from the documentary as well, like, I'm divorced. Like, my husband and I didn't make it through this. You know, you guys made it through. You had a kid that was going through it. You had other kids to take care of. You were like, people leaned on you heavily for information and you need to know all this stuff. Like, you guys are superhuman in my eyes. Seriously. Kudos to you guys, and Kathy for still being so engaged in this community. I still lean on you to this day. Like, people owe a huge thank you to you. Like, honestly, I'm gonna give you a round of applause, like, for real.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm so grateful to ITSAN, and I don't think that's said. I mean, people say it, but it's not said enough that you guys do work so hard. People aren't compensated. Like, I used to get so frustrated when people are like, why do they want any kind of donation? Blah, blah, blah. They should do this for free. I'm like, you're over here complaining, wanting advice and needing help, but you $5, you know, contribution is insane to you. Like, no, you can't have my money. So I used to get so angry. I was like, oh, these people are helping you for like pennies. So
well, I'm sure you can relate since you had to like figure out how to fund your own documentary.
Yeah.
And do it yourself, would be writer, producer, director, editor. Like I could say all the same back to you and more of it into the community. So I'm just like so glad you're here and use like your time and your talents to give this gift. You know, I go back and look at the documentary a lot to see how many views, and it's just tens of thousands now. It's amazing. Like this is how people are coming into this. Like back in the day, it was Itsen and that was it. And now it's like people are coming in through so many different channels, and it's just awesome that like we're finally reaching people, and you've been like a huge part of that. So like kudos back to you.
A round of applause for everybody here, guys. Round of applause. Like even today, it still shocks me because even today I had someone write me like, oh, I just watched your documentary today, and they had like a question, and it's just like, wow, people still watch that. Like it's insane to me. But again, wouldn't have been made without y'all. So I'm just saying, thank you so much for being a part of it. When it comes,
Briana,
yeah.
I'm sorry, just to add a little bit to what both of you are saying. You know, a lot of people, I don't think realize anytime there's progress made or something good that happens, it comes at a sacrifice.
So much, yes.
Right? It's time, effort, money, energy, heartache, whatever you want to call it, just a lot of perseverance. And so, you know, I have to, and Catherine and I have laughed about this, you know, I look at the website, just how amazing it is, and, you know, all the content that's on it. And so the flip side to that, I'm going to throw Catherine under the bus a little bit here, is I come home from work and, you know, she's sitting on the couch, you know, in her pajamas with her hair up, and just like she's been over there for hours working on this thing. And so this is like who created it, or this is the environment in which this amazing website and content was created. It's like this stay-at-home mom in her jammies, you know, just kind of like, you know, putting it all in there because it's something she's passionate about. And, you know, and I think guys are much better about this. With men, I think we're really good about putting things into boxes. Right.
Compartmentalizing.
Yes, we're masters at it. I mean, we're just made that way. And so anyway, a lot with our experience with Rhett, it's like I felt like I was in it somewhat, like I was there to help him somewhat, but it was really Catherine carrying the load and the burden of that, probably 90% of it. And so I felt like my job was to help her. Right. She's there helping her son. So my job is to help her and try to get her through it. So our roles were, you know, a little bit different in that regard, but I think together it worked. But anyway, it does come at a sacrifice. Right. And so just if anyone watches this in the future, it's, you know, the work that you've done and that Catherine has done and the many people involved with ITSEN, like it comes with a price.
Definitely.
Right? So I just want people who watch this to know that.
And I'm so glad that you say that, because like I even think possibly my relationship that was the price kind of with this. And so I mean, I remember one of the lines that you said, and it made it into the documentary, and I'll never forget it, and I loved it, is you said something about the human spirit is amazing, and like people forge on through this and they keep going, and like you said, persevere, sacrifice. It is all part of this, especially with leadership and people who are putting themselves out there, because people don't understand that. Okay, I get a message on my phone from someone. They don't realize that they're not the only person messaging. They're not the only person out there vying for, you know, my attention, your attention. And it becomes a lot. It does. And that's why when you stepped away, I was like, I felt like that was amazing for your family, for you to be able to do that. At first, like selfishly, I'm like, why is she leaving? Yeah. But I totally got it. I totally understood. Like, you have an amazing, beautiful family that needs you. Like, you were like a mom to all of us, you know,
Yeah.
but you have a family, and I'm so glad that you got to step away, and I'm also selfishly so glad that you're back. But really truly, like, it's, especially when it comes to parents, or even just if a partner's going through it, it really is like communication, support. It's gonna be hard times. Like, there is no way around that. Like, there is gonna be hard times. Someone's gonna be crying, someone's gonna be upset, someone's gonna feel like I'm not getting enough time, you're not getting enough time, I'm doing this more than you are.
Yep.
That's what it's gonna be. And part of that really sucks, and the other part of it is so beautiful once you come out on the other side of that. So
Agreed. I mean, all of that, I think, like, just something I've been thinking about, especially lately, and I think COVID kind of highlights this too, is just like division of labor, you know, in relationships, and like what usually falls on women as, you know, caretakers of children, and just like, you know, we're talking about like what we value, you know, and in the beginning it was like, when you're still valuing like I don't know, cooking dinner and laundry being done and blah blah
Clean
and
your house.
right. And I'm just like, listen, like, our kid is in crisis and it's all on me.
yeah.
And I'm researching this all day long because I feel like it's life or death. I'm making these decisions for this kid. And like, me telling you about the research is a lot different than you drilling down, plugging in, doing the research yourself,
Yeah.
making the decision. So it was very like, you don't place enough value on what I'm doing. So we had to like work a lot of that out. And then I just feel like, you know, with taking him to the doctor's office too, I know a lot of women face this. There's so much, there's such a power imbalance as it is when they're the doctor and you're not. But then you add like a layer of sexism where a lot of the doctors are male and then a lot of the caregivers are female. And then they're kind of like up against that too. And I just feel like, anyway, just a lot of this has been highlighted, like I said, COVID, with when everybody's home, but the mom is still like figuring out like school for everybody, even if she's full-time working also from home. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's, anyway, so that's what's on my mind, that kind of came to me, like, this is a hard thing. It's a hard thing for anybody who experiences TSW. I just like know from my caretaking experience, because I didn't go through this myself, but you know, caring for somebody and trying to like just be brave, like going into those appointments and feeling talked down 2 times a million. I think what really highlights that is, you know, that clip of the doctor in Preventable, and is this a steroid?
Oh,
you know?
my gosh, I can't, to this day, I can't stand that man, wherever you are.
Mocking a woman, you know, like it's so sexist, like it's so everything. But to me, that's what I hear, like this hysterical female who's, you know, can't be a steroid. And it's just like, you know, guess what? Like, I probably know more about this than anyone on the planet. And like, that is not just hyperbole. I don't care how it sounds. It's true. I have lived and breathed this for the last 7 years. I've seen it in thousands of people, not my child. I've seen it in my child firsthand, and I've researched the heck out of this. So it's like what you said, like, I am literally a book of knowledge in front of you, you know, like, and to be spoken to that way and treated that way. Yeah. So stuff like that really keeps me going and just makes me want to give people what I wish I had when I was going through it. And I know there's a lot of people in our community kind of doing the same thing, like trying to give the community what they wished they had. And I just like applaud everyone's efforts, and like will amplify whoever's voice is doing that, you know? So anyway, I just think
and I completely agree with you with that. Like, I guess I would add on to that when it comes to having to go to any sort of appointment and dealing with having to say, hey, I have this condition. Because I went to an allergist, and I'm gonna have to go back. I'll probably choose a different one, but I had an allergist come in, and I had to kind of tell her like, oh, you know, I stopped using steroids. I was going through topical steroid withdrawal, and she rolled her eyes at me, like literal, like, okay, and just kind of poo-pooed that. And part of me, like, I'm emotional, like, and I don't like crying in front of people, but I sat there and almost started shaking because I wanted to cry. And I was like, I'm a grown woman sitting in a doctor's chair, like, and someone's rolling their eyes at me. And I would say for anybody, stand up for yourself, because I had to take a breath and I just like went off on her. I was like, this is how you treat a patient? I was like, how do you think I'm going to sit in here now and care whatever it is that you're about to tell me if that's how you're going to treat me? I was like,
Yeah.
because by the way, I have a documentary out with other doctors who know exactly what I have, and it would behoove you to listen to me if you'd like to go and watch it right now and then come back in. Because I was so upset. I was just like, I cannot believe you just rolled your eyes at me.
And you are the expert on this in that situation. That's
I'm
what she
like, listen here. Listen.
Do you know who I
Um,
am?
That's how I felt. I was like, do you know who you're speaking to?
Oh,
And
it is a
took
very frustrating, common experience. You know, like
it takes so much to step in anywhere. That's why people are like, why don't you go to the doctor? Like, I don't want to go to the doctor. I hate the doctor. Like, that sucks. Like, I fret having to go to a doctor.
and there's nothing people want more than to be able to go to the doctor and work with the doctor. That's what's sad. So like that's something that like I feel like ITSAN has been a goal from the beginning, is to like bring doctors and patients together. But there has to be like a compromise here, because you can't just like dictate and act like you're an expert on something when you really have read nothing on it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You haven't even observed it. This is what bugged me too, is like none of my doctors like put any credence into what happened before their eyes, except one. My pediatrician did, but then our insurance changed and I had to get a new pediatrician.
Oh.
However, but like everyone else, it was like, well, maybe he just grew out of it, or maybe it was contact dermatitis, even though we stopped using the thing 17 months ago, you know, or whatever. It was just kind of crazy that, you know, even seeing it before their eyes, it's really hard. But I feel like the tide is definitely turning, like the numbers of people telling their stories and putting it out there. It's like, we cannot be ignored or put up, you know, everyone's not an anomaly, you know, every single person, thousands of people. I mean, there are disease states far more rare that are taken seriously and cared about and fundraised for, and we're going to solve this, you know? So I feel like the time has come, and we've had a lot of people kind of stand shoulder to shoulder with us that wouldn't speak to us even 5 years ago. And so I just feel like we're getting there. And hopefully, you know, the next step will be that people can go to their doctor, and hopefully the goal is this can be prevented from the outset. Yeah. If not, at least maybe the correct diagnosis when they see it, and then the correct treatment. You know, that's the other piece, being withdrawing from steroids and, you know, treating symptoms or making the person comfortable and waiting for the withdrawal phase to pass. So, that's the main goal. Obviously, prevention, like your documentary, is the best.
But that's why I love what ITSAN's doing right now, because you guys put a survey out, because that was one of the things that was always our biggest wall of, well, there's no data. Well, of course there's no data. No one's diagnosing this. So to have your survey, because now it's closed, correct?
Right. Yeah. Now we're in kind of like the processing part, and so an analysis. I hear people trying to come in. Anyway, so hold on. Rhett just walked in.
Is it Rhett? Can you say hi? Can you say hello?
Yes. Come here. Come say hello. This is Where Are They Now? About Preventable documentary.
Oh my gosh. Look at him.
Hey, say hello to the people. Hi.
What's up? Oh my gosh. How funny. I was just on a call with Rosemary about Brian, and he was, I think she said 13, and now he's like 17, 18, and he's like a tree.
Like, Yeah.
Huge. And look at you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You look great. You look great, Rhett.
Yeah.
Looking good. Looking good.
Well, you want to talk about how you're feeling? How's your skin doing?
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, the back of my knees are clear now.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
My ankles are still a little pink, but it's not bad.
Yep.
I'm so happy. Like I love it. And I love that you were outside, like playing. That's what made me so happy.
Thank you.
All right, we won't
So-
keep you. You know, you can go play if you don't want to stand here or anything.
Bye. See ya.
All right. Thanks. Okay. So it's that survey.
Crazy. Oh my gosh, that blew my mind.
Yeah, so as you said, it is like, you know, we have anecdotal evidence. We have very good anecdotal evidence, I would say. But without the data to back it up, it's still kind of like, you know, can be dismissed. And so I mentioned earlier, you know, Kelly Barta, Ipsen's former president, now works for Allergy Asthma Network. And they worked with us on that PFDD meeting, the Patient Focused Drug Development FDA meeting. They were one of the 5 patient organizations that worked with us. And they have a lot of crossover in their group with allergy and asthma with atopic dermatitis and eczema, because a lot of people have like all 3. And so they're trying to kind of reach out more to the atopic dermatitis community and like within their community, reach out to people who deal with that too. And so it was just a really good fit, because a lot of people in allergy and asthma community use steroids to, you know, control their symptoms.
Yeah.
But what they're seeing too is that a lot of these big guns, especially oral steroids, are just like way overused. And they drilled down on some data that they had showing that it was connected to bad outcomes years down the line, you know, like bone thinness and
Like
cataract.
glaucoma, probably, yeah, like stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's like all of those like major issues. And so they put out a campaign. It's like OCS overexposed, so oral corticosteroids overexposed. And so they have a whole website and a campaign dedicated to raising awareness about overexposure of oral steroids. We're like, guess what?
Let's add on to that.
Thing going on with topical steroids in our community. So it was just like this fits. And so we actually joined their steering committee for the OCS, and we put some of their posts through our social media and try to raise awareness about that, because there have been also people in our community who are given oral steroids to treat their eczema, you know, because you get the topicals and increasing potencies and places on your body.
How much
and
you
then
use it, yeah.
And then they're like, okay, well then here's an oral steroid. And I think according to their research, you really shouldn't have more than 2 bursts a year. And then they have also a lifetime limit. And I don't want to misquote them, but I think it was 20 bursts in a lifetime.
Wow.
So you think about that, like, and I think a lot of people have come into our community because of oral steroids. Maybe they're given it for a sinus infection or a throat or something like that.
Yeah.
And they had a rebound flare, and then you get into the topical, cycle. And so, so we joined with them because we have a lot of, common ground. And Kelly Barta and I were allowed to write this survey. So it's in an AAN partnering. And we asked a lot of those questions about steroid exposure, because that's a big question. How many steroids are these people being exposed to? Like, if you add it all up, you have like oral steroid bursts, you have inhalers, a lot of them, nebulizer treatments, eye drops, nose sprays, topical steroids, over the counter and prescription. So you kind of, it's hard because people are kind of chopped up into pieces. And so this specialist does skin, and this specialist does lungs, and this specialist does whatever. And so none of it is being reconciled. So that was the major, push of the survey. Like, what is all of this exposure? A, what is it? Oh, how much are people being exposed? B, is this connected to bad outcomes? C, we stuck in a ton of topical steroid withdrawal questions. asking about symptoms that are specific to TSW. So, and we also asked the participant, have you gone through TSW? So there's some questions for people who have gone through it, but then there's questions that will indicate that they are in it or have gone through it, even if they don't know.
Yeah.
They are having those symptoms and trying to correlate it with use. Because as you know, that's another question mark. Some people in our group used a lot, some used a little. I mean, so just trying to see if there's any pattern at all. And then whatever comes out of that, data's still being analyzed, so we don't have that yet, but we'll be able to like drill down even question by question for a long time, you know, as long as we can find people willing to partner with us on the research to get some answers here. And at the very least, to draw awareness to this problem, that you can't just like heap on steroids. It's cumulative. It all lands in the same body, you know, and years of this for a medication that's meant for an acute problem.
Yep.
So anyway, get off my soapbox about that, but I'm really excited about that.
No,
project.
and I'm so excited. Like, I know ITSAN probably has other things in store for us too over the next like year.
Yes,
So big things, big harvesting.
Several other projects we're involved in, and you know, especially with like that PFDD survey, that if people participated in that meeting, there was a survey, and there's a couple other projects in the works with those 5 other organizations we partner with. So it's National Eczema Association, Allergy Asthma Network, Asthma Allergy Foundation of America, and Global Parents for Eczema Research. So those are the 5 groups with ITSAN, and we're partnering together to kind of drill down farther on certain questions and get data about the caregiver experience and about adult eczema. And those should be coming out the next year or so, depending, and potential
cool.
to be to publish some of that. And so we're really excited because it will just reach more people and bring more legitimacy, and that's what we need. And then you can't be minimized or blown off when you have data and when you're in the literature. And so
awesome.
Big, yeah.
Yeah, man, look at your wife. Be like, that's my wife. She's doing all that. That's my wife.
Oh, she reminds me of it too.
I mean, I don't have to.
Oh my gosh. So my last question to you both, this is for you both. As parents who have had to watch a child go through this, what is some advice that you would give to other parents?
So, yeah, there's a lot to be said with that. So all right, so I'll just speak to, I guess, the parent or the spouse who is kind of more of the observer and maybe assisting, right? So, and I don't remember what all we talked about in in Preventable when we were interviewed, and I may have mentioned this, but there's a time when I felt, I just want my wife back.
Yeah.
Like the person I married.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because, it was different. The whole relationship was different. She was different and I didn't understand this at the time, just more immature and ignorant of a lot of things. And, she was carrying all this burden, and I was just looking at it as, well, this is how it's affecting our relationship, is how it's affecting me. It's like we're in the car, and, instead of having a silly conversation about, I don't know, like a YouTube video you've seen, she's on her phone, it's like answering these emails or responding to these people who are attacking kind of like, what it stands for, the belief philosophy behind it. And so anyway, it does take a toll. But I think one of the things to remember is, to think back that, you married this person for a reason. and you think about the memories that you do have, you know, the way things were, and you hang on to that. But I think it's also important to say that when you both come through this, like, you are going to be different. Like, she's not going to be the same, right, as the person you married. And I think even without something major in life, like, you change. And that's something that I guess I didn't realize, is like, neither one of you are going to be the same that you were as, like, a, you know, for a guy, like a 25-year-old punk, right? It's like, you're just like, you're going to change, and she's going to change, and that's okay. Right. So they're like basics. You continue to have good communication and have that intimacy with each other where you're talking about things. But you're both going to change, and that's okay. And I think out of anything that I want to say, like, that's going to be, is like, it's going to be okay.
Yep.
I like it. I mean, and can I add on to that? I mean, I could liken you guys to Barack and Michelle Obama, but I just remember her coming out with stuff saying, like, their relationship really took a toll when he wanted to go for president. She's like, yo, you just got in, I believe it was like to the Senate or something, like, chill. I don't want to go through more stuff. And he's like, hold the mic, you know, let me go and become president. And it's just a lot. And I think, I know I'm a Marvel person, like superhero, but if you look at every single superhero, they have a hard personal life because they're sticking their self out to do something for all these other people, that the person that they care about the most and the people they care about the most are the ones that are most highly affected. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see what happens to a lot of relationships. Like,
Well, it's hard when you feel like people in a support group understand you better than your spouse.
Yeah.
You know, like, these people get it. And like, and it's not just your spouse, it's like all outsiders don't get it, you know? And so it is really hard. And I feel like, you know, I guess some advice I would give is just like lean into each other, you know, like share the load, share the experience. If they're there for you, they'll listen and take the load. And it may take a while to understand how heavy that is. I think too, I didn't realize how heavy the load was, or that it shouldn't be all mine, because I was the stay-at-home parent. And so it was like, you know, if the kid has something going on, then that's my purview or whatever. I'm here in the day. It's just kind of naturally, but it was just beyond, I think, what either of us gave credit for.
yeah.
So I would just say, like, it is a big deal, and like, let it be. Ask outsiders for help. Tell people what's going on. I think part of me didn't even know, I didn't give credibility, I guess, either. I didn't know if this was the answer. And so I was kind of in this experiment phase, and I didn't want to tell anybody if I messed up my kids super bad. And this turned out to be a horrible mistake and a horrible idea. So I think I was protecting myself too by not really, you know,
Opening up to others.
Yeah. Or telling anybody what was even going on. And so if I had it to do over again, that'd be something I would change. It's just like being honest about what's happening and how hard it is and the specific help that you need. And just being willing to like accept help. And I think also just getting therapy from the beginning, I think, because you both will need it. It's traumatizing. It's a huge trauma. And after the fact, you will have post-traumatic stress. And so it's not just I mean, for me, it hit me after, because I was all in it for the crisis. But when the crisis passed is when I just fell to pieces, because I could, you know. And so yeah, that'd be the other piece of advice, is like, get therapy from the beginning and continue on through, and expect that, like, I think I expected when he was better, everything would go back to normal, you know, everything. And it didn't. You are forever changed. But I think that I am much more, I think, capable. I'm a much deeper person, much more compassionate, much more observant of what other people are going through, and how hard even the littlest thing is to go through. And so I think that we've both definitely changed for the better eventually. You know, hearing it is really hard. But
and I will say you guys aren't alone. You guys are my first people that I interviewed. So you were my first couple as well that I interviewed. And after that, I met 2 other couples, you know, one that was also caring for a child and one where the female in the relationship was going through TSW. And it was so interesting that I got very small time with the husband of the couple. But when I did, there was also this, I guess, like Jason's sentiment of, I don't know where my wife is. My wife is different. We don't have the same conversations anymore. It's always around the kid, around the TSW, the condition. And it's one of them gave advice, and they'll probably give it again because I'm gonna it's Dana Morgan's mom and dad. And he kind of gave the advice of, even when it's tough, even when everything's falling apart, you got to find like that one day or meal time where it's just you two. Like, and I know that's so difficult for you guys. You have 4 kids. Yeah. But he always was like, just to find that hour or 2 where you promise each other you're going to check in with each other, not anything to do with your kid or the person that's the condition. And I thought that was like, wow, that was some good advice.
I totally agree.
Because
we figured out that with COVID too, that like sometimes we'll just go get takeout and we're like, bye kids, go someplace. Like this is like our time.
Yeah.
Because like, even, I was gonna say, I remember this one time, I think this was during TSW, and Jason came home, and I mean, I felt like I was always just a hot mess that whole time, and he just like held my face, and he's like you're still you, and like I'm still here, like we're still us. And I don't know, I just like really held on to that, you know.
Needed that. Yeah.
And because I think I too was feeling the same thing, like I'm getting eaten alive by this thing. I have no identity anymore. All I do is read and try to figure it out and talk to other people, and that's all I even have to talk about or think about anymore. And just to kind of like have that reassurance that like you're still you, you know, and I still see you like Avatar.
Yeah.
I
see you. Yes. And you can't fill someone else's cup if yours is empty.
Right.
And I think, you know, that's a huge thing when it comes to any relationship, regardless if you have kids or not. So again, I hope anyone who's watching this sees like, this is tough. And then this person right here still did all this research and stuff and worked for us. So like, again, kudos to you two, Wonder Man and Wonder Woman of all of this. Seriously, like I look up to you guys. That's so awesome. Like, and to see your families like growing, Rhett's doing great. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you for letting us share the story. And I just really do hope that other people get hope and see there's like a life at the end of the tunnel. And there's hope for you. This doesn't last forever.
And I appreciate you guys' vulnerability, because I know the last thing any couple wants to do is go and talk about this condition or how it's affected you guys or your family or yourself. So people need to hear this to be able to tell their own stories and feel strong enough and courageous enough to step up. So
yeah,
I love you guys. I'm hoping to go to Texas at some point. Come
on.
I want to see all this rearrangement happening. I'm gonna go jump on the trampoline. Right?
Come on.
I'm gonna see that fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime. Yep. Come when you can stay longer. That's what they say.
Yes.
Come when you can stay longer.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I know I've already got info out of this, and I feel so like spirited and full from this, and I know others will too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Briana. Good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you guys. And Kathy, I'll probably chit chat with you at some point soon. All
Okay, yes, please do.
right.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.